All right, we are supposedly live on YouTube, but I'm having a couple of issues. I was having some internet. Looks like they're gaveling in, so let's get the audio.
Here's the start to the
There we go. Hopefully it works, but I'm recording it just in case we have some streaming issues.
Madam Speaker, the President of the United States.
Are they booing? Are there people booing? State of the Union is strong. Wait, that's not it's not a State of the Union. That is a historic view right there. The president being backed by two women. Never happened before.
Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor to present to you the President of the United States.
Of course, I'm wearing my No Malarkey shirt just for this very time.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good to be back.
Except he was sitting a little bit behind.
Mitch and Chuck will understand
his right.
it's good to be almost home. Down the hall. Anyway, thank you all. Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President. No president has ever said those words from this podium. No president has ever said those words.
Yep.
And it's about time.
At least they're socially distanced.
First Lady, I'm her husband. Second Gentleman, Chief Justice, members of the United States Congress and the Cabinet, distinguished guests, my fellow Americans. While the setting tonight is familiar, this gathering is just a little bit different. A reminder of the extraordinary times we're in. Throughout our history, presidents have come to this chamber to speak to Congress, to the nation, and to the world, to declare war, to celebrate peace, to announce new plans and possibilities. Tonight, I come to talk about crisis and opportunity, about rebuilding the nation, revitalizing our democracy, and winning the future for America. I stand here tonight, one day shy of the 100th day of my administration. 100 days since I took the oath of office and lifted my hand off our family Bible and inherited a nation, we all did, that was in crisis. The worst pandemic in a century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. Now, after just 100 days, I can report to the nation, America is on the move again. Turning peril into possibility, crisis to opportunity, setbacks into strength. We all know life can knock us down, but in America, we never, ever, ever stay down. Americans always get up. Today, that's what we're doing. America's rising anew, choosing hope over fear, truth over lies, and light over darkness. After 100 days of rescue and renewal, America is ready for a takeoff, in my view. We're working again, dreaming again, discovering again, and leading the world again. We have shown each other and the world that there's no quit in America, none. 100 days ago, America's house was on fire. We had to act. And thanks to the extraordinary leadership of Speaker Pelosi, Majority Leader Schumer, and the overwhelming support of the American people, Democrats, Independents, and Republicans, we did act.
No Mitch.
Together
no
we passed the
Moscow
American
Mitch.
Rescue Plan, one of the most consequential rescue packages in American history. We're already seeing the results. We're already seeing the results. After I promised we'd get 100 million COVID-19 vaccine shots into people's arms in 100 days, we will have provided over 220 million COVID shots in those 100 days. Thanks to all the help of all of you. We're marshaling, with your help, everyone's help, we're marshaling every federal resource. We've gotten vaccines to nearly 40,000 pharmacies and over 700 community health centers where the poorest of the poor can be reached. We're setting up community vaccination sites, developing mobile units to get to hard-to-reach communities. Today, 90% of Americans now live within 5 miles of a vaccination site. Everyone over the age of 16, everyone is now eligible to get vaccinated right now, right away. Go get vaccinated, America. Go and get the vaccination. They're available.
I like how they're doing this,
now.
like pop up State of the Union. Oh, sit down, McCarthy.
When I was sworn in January 20th, less than 1% of the seniors in America were fully vaccinated against COVID-19. 100 days later, 70%.
I'm kind of listening,
Seniors
Taylor,
in
at the moment.
America
I will
over
give some
65 are
reactions, I guess,
fully
like to
protected.
McCarthy.
Senior deaths from
Thank you for joining me. I was
COVID-19 are
also
down
typing some stuff, so I didn't see
80%
your
since
response.
January. Down 80% because of all of you. And more than half of all the adults in America have gotten at least one shot. A mass vaccination center in Glendale, Arizona, I asked the nurse, I said, "What's it like?" She looked at me and she said, "It's like every shot is giving a dose of hope," was her phrase, a dose of hope. A dose of hope for an educator in Florida who has a child suffering from an autoimmune disease. Wrote to me, said she's worried, and she was worried about bringing the virus home. She said she then got vaccinated at a large site in her car. She said she sat in her car when she got vaccinated and just cried.
Well, I mean, okay,
Cried
Taylor
out of
Schneider in
joy.
the chat goes, no thanks
cried
to
out
Trump
of
for
relief.
warp speed. I mean,
Parents,
the vaccines were
seeing
developed. I
smiles
think
on their
one of the
kids' faces for
vaccines, I
those
think
who are able to
Pfizer
go
was
back
not
to
developed
school
with the help of warp
because the
speed.
teachers and school bus drivers
that was
and
one of the
cafeteria
first ones
workers have
out.
been vaccinated.
But what
Grandparents,
good did warp speed do when Trump
hugging
didn't
their
have
children
a
and grandchildren instead of
method to
pressing
distribute
hands
all of
against
those
the window
vaccines? According to the Biden administration,
say goodbye.
there was nothing available. They had to do it. They had to
Those
create the
those
infrastructure
things-
to be able to ship those vaccines
You know, there's
nationwide
still-
and get them in people's
all know
arms.
You know it better than any group of Americans. There's still more work to do to beat this virus. We can't let our guard down. But tonight, I can say, because of you, the American people, our progress these past 100 days against one of the worst pandemics in history has been one of the greatest logistical achievements this country's ever seen. What else have we done in those first 100 days? We kept our commitment, Democrats and Republicans, of sending $1,400 rescue checks to 85% of American households. We've already sent more than 160 million checks out the door when you go home. For many people, it's making all the difference in the world. A single mom in Texas who wrote me, she said she couldn't work, but she said the relief check put food on the table and saved her and her son from eviction from their apartment. A grandmother
having issues
in
again
Virginia who told me
because Cox Cable
she
stinks.
immediately took her granddaughter to the eye doctor, something she said she put off for months because she didn't have the money. One of the defining images, at least from my perspective in this crisis, has been cars lined up for miles. And not people just barely able to start those cars, nice cars, lined up for miles, waiting for a box of food to be put in their trunk. I don't know about you, but I didn't ever think I'd see that in America. And all of this is through no fault of their own. No fault of their own, these people are in this position. That's why the rescue plan is delivering food and nutrition assistance to millions of Americans facing hunger. And hunger's down sharply already. We're also providing rental assistance. You all know this, but the American people, I want to make sure they understand. Keeping people from being evicted from their homes. Providing loans to small businesses that reopen and keep their employees on the job. During these 100 days, an additional 800,000 Americans enrolled in the Affordable Care Act when I established a special sign-up period to do that. 800,000 in that period. We're making one of the largest one-time ever investments, ever, in improving health care for veterans. Critical investments to address the opioid crisis. And maybe most importantly, thanks to the American Rescue Plan, we're on track to cut child poverty in America in half this year.
The smattering of applause of little, like, claps from some Republicans, but not everyone. Pathetic.
And in the process,
Republicans really are freaking pathetic.
while this was all going on, the economy created more than 1,300,000 new jobs in 100 days. More jobs in the first 100 days than any president on record. The International Monetary Fund is now estimating our economy will grow at a rate of more than 6% this year. That will be the fastest pace of economic growth in this country in nearly 4 decades. America's moving.
Where?
Moving
Where are we
forward.
moving to?
But we
Away from the
can't stop
Republicans?
now. We're in competition with China and other countries to win the 21st century. We're at a great inflection point in history. We have to do more than just build back better. We have to build back better. We have to compete more strenuously than we have. Throughout our history, if you think about it, public investment in infrastructure has literally transformed America, our attitudes as well as our opportunities. The Transcontinental Railroad, the interstate highways, united 2 oceans and brought a totally new age of progress to the United States of America. Universal public schools and college aid opened wide the doors of opportunity. Scientific breakthroughs took us to the moon. Now we're on Mars, discovering vaccines, gave us the internet, and so much more. These are investments we made together as one country, and investments that only the government was in a position to make. Time and again, they propel us into the future.
This is the
That's
problem
why I
with doing
propose
live
the American
streams,
Jobs Plan.
I guess, of
A once-in-a-generation
when Joe Biden
investment in
speaks,
America
because
itself.
he's talking
This is
intelligently
the largest jobs
and
plan
eloquently
since World War
and
II.
saying smart things and not saying ridiculous
Creates
things like
jobs, to
putting,
upgrade our
you know,
transportation
injecting
infrastructure.
bleach into your body.
Jobs, modernizing our roads, bridges, highways. Jobs, building ports and airports, rail corridors, transit lines. It's clean water. And today, up to 10 million homes in America and more than 400,000 schools and child care centers have pipes with lead in them, including drinking water. A clear and present danger
Detroit.
to our children's health. American Jobs Plan creates jobs replacing 100%
Flint,
of the
Michigan.
nation's lead pipes and service lines, so every American can drink clean water.
Like, that shouldn't be that shocking, or everybody should agree that everybody should be able to drink water that's clean.
Thousands and thousands of good-paying jobs.
But Mitch McConnell's not going to clap
Creates
for that.
jobs connecting
He doesn't
every
think
American
everybody
with
should drink
high-speed
clean
internet.
water.
Including 35% of the rural America that still doesn't have it. This is going to help our kids and our businesses succeed in the 21st century economy. And I'm asking the Vice President to lead this effort.
I'm in New Orleans. I'm not getting minimally acceptable
Because I
speeds
know
for. I'm
get
getting
done.
warnings from YouTube right now that my minimally
Creates
acceptable
jobs,
speeds,
building
my
a
speeds are
modern
too
power
bad, and that my stream might die because I
Our grids
can't
are
get good
vulnerable
internet
to
speeds.
Storms, hacks,
I can only imagine what
catastrophic
people in
failures. with
other areas are.
Tragic results, as we saw in
Ridiculous.
Texas and elsewhere during the winter storms. The American Jobs Plan will create jobs that lay thousands of miles of transmission lines needed to build a resilient and fully clean grid. We can do that. Look,
I mean, I understand
American
Roberts
Jobs Plan
not
help
standing. He's
millions of
supposed to
people
be
get back to their jobs.
apolitical, though he did say
Get back
something
to
during
their
Obama's
careers.
State of the Union. It's like, what was that?
2
Alito?
million
I don't
women
know.
have
Well,
dropped
Mitch-
out of the workforce.
Mitch
during
is
this
just sitting
pandemic.
there and
2
just
million.
being Mitch McConnell.
And too often because they couldn't get the care they needed to care for their child or care for an elderly
Let's
parent
go, Mitch.
who needs help. 800,000 families are on the Medicare waiting list right now to get home care for their aging parent or loved one with disability. If you think it's not important, check out in your own district, Democrat or Republican. Democrat or Republican voters. Their great concern, almost as much as their children, is taking care of an elderly loved one who can't be left alone. Medicaid contemplated it, but this plan is going to help those families and create jobs for our caregivers with better wages and better benefits, continuing a cycle of growth. For too long, we've failed to use the most important word when it comes to meeting the climate crisis.
Darn it.
Jobs. Jobs.
There's me and my wife on my desktop because everything decided to close all of a sudden. Hilarious.
For me, when I think climate change, I think jobs. The American Jobs Plan will put engineers and construction workers to work building more energy efficient buildings and homes. Electrical workers, IBEW members installing 500,000 charging stations along our highways so we can own the electric car market. Farmers planting cover crops so they can reduce the carbon dioxide in the air and get paid for doing it. Look, think about it. There is simply no reason why the blades for wind turbines can't be built in Pittsburgh instead of Beijing. No reason. None. No reason. So, folks,
And then, of course,
no
Mitch
reason why
McConnell's not clapping for that either.
American workers can't lead the world in the production of electric vehicles and batteries. I mean, there is no reason. We have the capacity. We're the brightest, best trained people in the world. The American Jobs Plan is going to create millions of good-paying jobs, jobs Americans can raise a family on. As my dad would then say, with a little breathing room. And all the investments in the American Job Plan will be guided by one principle: buy American.
Let me
Buy
see if Mitch
American.
McConnell claps for this one.
And I might note parenthetically,
Come on, let me see Mitch. Where's Mitch?
that does not violate any trade agreement. It's been the law
Nope.
since the 30s. Buy American. American tax dollars are going to be used to buy American products.
You can't be bothered to clap
made
for
in
Buy
America
American.
to create American jobs. That's the way it's supposed to be, and it will be in this administration.
Steny Hoyer is like, well, these
And I made it
MFers
clear
are
to
not
all
clapping. Look at Mitch
my cabinet
McConnell
people.
just sitting there like a
Their
little
ability
troll,
to give
refusing to
exemptions
react to
has
anything.
been strenuously limited. It will be American products. Now, I know some of you at home are wondering whether these jobs are for you. So many of you, so many of the folks I grew up with, feel left behind, forgotten, in an economy that's so rapidly changing. It's frightening. I want to speak directly to you, because you think about it. That's what people are most worried about. Can I fit in? Independent experts estimate the American Jobs Plan will add millions of jobs and trillions of dollars to economic growth in the years to come. It is a 8-year program. These are good-paying jobs that can't be outsourced. Nearly 90% of the infrastructure jobs created in the American Jobs Plan do not require a college degree. 75% don't require an associate's degree. The American Jobs Plan is a blue-collar blueprint to build America. That's what it is.
Tim Scott, at least Tim Scott could clap.
And it recognizes something I've always said in this chamber and the other. Good guys and women on Wall Street, but Wall Street didn't build this country. The middle class built the country, and unions built the middle class. So that's why I'm calling on Congress to pass Protect the Right to Organize Act, the PRO Act, and send it to my desk so we can support the right to unionize.
Well, of course, Mitch McConnell's not going to clap for that. He doesn't like union workers.
And by the way, while you're thinking about sending things to my desk, let's raise the minimum wage to $15. No one working 40 hours a week, should live below the poverty line. We need to ensure greater equity and opportunity for women. And while we're doing this, let's get the Paycheck Fairness Act to my desk as well. Equal pay. It's been much too long. And if you wonder whether it's too long, look behind me. And finally, the American Jobs Plan will be the biggest increase in non-defense research and development on record. We'll see more technological change, and some of you know more about this than I do. We'll see more technological change in the next 10 years than we saw in the last 50. That's how rapidly artificial intelligence and so much more is changing. And we're falling behind the competition with the rest of the world. Decades ago, we used to invest 2% of our gross domestic product in America, 2% of our gross domestic product in research and development. Today, Mr. Secretary, that's less than 1%. China and other countries are closing in fast. We have to develop and dominate the products and technologies of the future. Advanced batteries, biotechnology, computer chips, clean energy. The Secretary of Defense can tell you, and those of you who work in national security issues know, the Defense Department has an agency called DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. The people who set up before I came here, and that's been a long time ago, to develop breakthroughs that enhance our national security. That's their only job. And it's a semi-separate agency. It's under the Defense Department. It's led to everything from the discovery of the internet to GPS and so much more that's enhanced our security. The National Institute of Health, the NIH, I believe, should create a similar advanced research projects agency for health. And here's what it would do. It would have a singular purpose: to develop breakthroughs to prevent, detect, and treat diseases like Alzheimer's, diabetes, and cancer.
It's at the same time, cancer.
I'll still never forget when we passed the cancer proposal the last year as vice president. Almost $9 million going to NIH. And if excused the point of personal privilege, I'll never forget you standing, Mitch, and saying, "Name it after my deceased son." It meant a lot. But so many of us have deceased sons, daughters, and relatives who died of cancer. I can think of no more worthy investment. I know of nothing that is more bipartisan. So let's end cancer as we know it. It's within our power. It's within our power to do it.
Of course, end cancer as we know it is not necessarily stopping all cancer, but
Investments in
as
jobs
we
and
know it.
infrastructure like the ones we're talking about have often had bipartisan support in the past. Vice President Harris and I met regularly in the Oval Office with Democrats and Republicans and discussed the jobs plan. And I applaud a group of Republican senators who just put forward their own proposal. So let's get to work. I wanted to lay out before the Congress my plan before we got into the deep discussions. I'd like to meet with those who have ideas that are different, they think are better. I welcome those ideas. But the rest of the world is not waiting for us. I just want to be clear. From my perspective, doing nothing is not an option. Look.
I mean, is his shell stuck on the
We
seat?
can't
Like,
be
is his
so
turtle
busy
shell just not
competing with
allowing
one
him to
another
stand up as he's
that we
stuck?
forget the
he's
competition
not
for the
doing
rest of
this,
the
so he's not
world
stuck on
to
his
win the
back
21st
completely, but
Secretary Blinken can tell you I spent a lot of time with President Xi. Traveled over 17,000 miles with him. Spent, they tell me, over 24 hours in private discussions with him.
oh, here's where the conservatives
He
like,
called
oh,
to
see, we
congratulate
told
me.
you
We had a
that
2-hour
China,
discussion.
Biden or China, blah, blah, blah.
He's deadly earnest about becoming the most significant, consequential nation in the world. He and others, autocrats, think that democracy can't compete in the 21st century with autocracies because it takes too long to get consensus. To win that competition for the future, in my view, we also need to make a once-in-a-generation investment in our families and our children. That's why I've introduced the American Families Plan tonight, which addresses 4 of the biggest challenges facing American families and in turn America. First is access to good education. When this nation made 12 years of public education universal in the last century, it made us the best educated, best prepared nation in the world. It's, I believe, the overwhelming reason that propelled us to where we got in the 20th century. But the world's caught up or catching up. They're not waiting. I would say parenthetically, if we were sitting down, we set a bipartisan committee together and said, okay, we're going to decide what we do in terms of government providing for free education. I wonder whether we'd think, as we did in the 20th century, that 12 years is enough in the 21st century. I doubt it. 12 years is no longer enough today to compete with the rest of the world in the 21st century. That's why my American Families Plan guarantees 4 additional years of public education for every person in America, starting as early as we can. The great universities in this country over the last 10 years.
Because one of them should be pre-K 4.
It shows that adding 2 years of universal high-quality preschool for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old, no matter what background they come from.
Or is he saying 2
Puts
years
in a position
before
to
and
be
2
able to
after?
compete.
Is that what he's saying?
All the way through 12 years. And increases exponentially their prospect of graduating and going on beyond graduation. The research shows when a young child goes to school, not daycare, they're far more likely to graduate from high school and go to college or something after high school. When you add 2 years of free community college on top of that,
Okay, so
you
it's
begin to change.
2
We can do that. And we'll increase Pell Grants and invest in historical black colleges and universities, tribal colleges, minority-serving institutions. The reason is they don't have the endowments. But their students are just as capable of learning about cybersecurity, just as capable of learning about metallurgy, all the things that are going on that provide those jobs
One
in
of
the
the
future.
very important things about
Jill is a community college professor
HBCUs
who
was
teaches
that
today
like,
as
during
First
World
Lady.
War II,
She's
you
long
had a
said,
lot of Jewish refugees who fled from Europe and the persecution from the Holocaust that would come
long-
and would teach at those HBCU. So it was just kind of what are the connections that Jews and black people have.
if I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. Joe, any country that out-educates us is going to outcompete us. She'll be deeply involved in leading this effort. Thank you, Joe.
And of course,
Second
my stream is right. I'm going to have to upload this
We need.
recording.
American Families Plan will provide access to quality child care. We guarantee what I'm proposing that low and middle income families will pay no more than 7% of their income for high quality care for children up to the age of 5. The most hard-pressed working families won't have to spend a dime. American Families Plan will finally provide up to 12 weeks of paid leave and medical leave, family medical leave. We're one of the few industrial countries in the world.
Of course, Mitch McConnell's not going to stand for that either because, God forbid,
No
people
one
get
should
to
have to choose
be
between
paid to
a
stay home
job
with their children.
and a paycheck, or taking care of themselves and their loved ones, or parent, or spouse, or child. And fourth, the American Family Plan puts directly into the pockets of millions of Americans.
And, like, good high-paying
In
jobs
March,
will have such things.
We expanded tax credit for every
But
child.
sometimes you have to do
in
it
the
via,
family.
like, short-term
Up to
disability.
$3,000 per child if you're under 6 years of age. Over 6 years of age. And $3,600 for children over 6 years of age. With 2 parents, 2 kids, that's $7,200 in the pockets that are going to help take care of your family. And that will help more than 65 million children and help cut child care poverty in half. And we can afford it. So we did that in the last piece of legislation we passed. But let's extend that child care tax credit at least through the end of 2025. The American Rescue Plan lowered health care premiums for 9 million Americans who buy their coverage under the Affordable Care Act. I know that's really popular this side of the aisle. But let's make that provision permanent so their premiums don't go back up. In addition to my family's plan, I'm going to work with